Bourbon Friday Show, where every Friday we take a short break, try a new bourbon, and meet someone awesome from the St. Louis startup scene. I'm your host, Nick Niehaus, and today I'm interviewing Peter Martin, who's both the founder of Open Studio and also a Grammy Award-winning jazz pianist. So, Peter, welcome to the show.
Thanks. What's going on, Nick?
Nothing much, just hanging here on Friday, dealing with some technical difficulties, so that was fun, right?
That's all part of it. We're here now, though.
I know, we're live, so we're good.
Right. Good stuff.
Well, obviously a lot of questions here. I want to talk about the Grammy in a second, but let's start with Open Studio, your business. Tell us a little about what you guys do.
So Open Studio, we are very humbly, we call ourselves Jazz Lessons from Legends.
Right, I like it.
But we have courses and lessons and really a community and reference materials, behind the scenes stuff, a whole lot of content.
Wow.
Put it together as like either a membership package or a course.
Okay.
And then provided to members from around the world that are looking, to be connected with this really niche knowledge from these thought leaders, specifically in jazz, instrumental music.
Very cool. All right,
Yeah.
so direct access to the best players in the world. Sounds
Exactly.
Like.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes, a little bit of tricks of the trade, tips, that kind of thing, stuff you can only get from us.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's. I want to talk more about the business, but I want to kind of maybe start from the beginning. So
Yep.
You've been playing this for many years, played with a lot of the legends yourself, obviously.
I did, yeah.
So yeah, tell me about your career a little bit first.
So I started playing, I grew up in St. Louis and started playing really when I was in middle school and high school in University City, and we had a great band program. My father played with the St. Louis Symphony for 30 years, and
Wow.
so I learned a lot from the symphony community and the other players. Both my parents are musicians, my sister, kind of from a family of musicians.
Cool.
But I got the jazz early from my dad's jazz records, and so
Okay.
I learned everything like basically from the records because I didn't have access to a jazz. I had a really good classical teacher.
Okay.
But I was kind of learning everything from the records. And
Really just picking it up by ear.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
And then when I got a little older, like into high school, I started getting a few gigs with some like local, really legends in the St. Louis community, Freddie Washington, Willie Aikens,
Nice.
the kind of Paul Damaris that took me under their wing, a little like the old school way. What now with all the resources is funny because sometimes we among the team we're like, are we giving too much? Because like we had to come up really learning it, from the source, from the records and everything. So we still enjoy that, but we really try to make it easier by getting some of that information in that we didn't really have.
Cool. You're approaching this from experience, kind of what you would have liked to seen when you were learning yourself.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
somewhat, but also really sort of target market is more of like the adult amateur we're finding.
Okay.
These are like people that aren't necessarily professional musicians, but they used to play. They want to get back into playing. They've always dreamed of playing jazz.
Mm-hmm.
They are just interested in the music and play an instrument, and they're like, we don't know where to start, and we don't access a teacher,
Okay.
or we don't have time. So it's like Sunday night, maybe pull out my instrument, watch some videos, get a little bit of inspiration. That's the way it actually works out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about the courses somebody can get on here and take. So obviously you get some names and they're teaching,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of a one person at a time type of deal, and they're on camera. And
Yes.
what does it look like?
Yeah, it's one person at a time, but a lot of times we'll have accompaniment for them. For instance, we have Diane Reeves called Define Your Voice, and Diane
Okay.
Reeves is like 6-time Grammy Award-winning vocalist.
Yeah.
Really, really, really. How do you hold the microphone?
Okay.
How do you raise? What are your warm-up? But we also really did a lot of like having her do storytelling about what it would come up, and then a lot of performances, and then we had a full band accompanying her with some
cool.
of her musicians. I played some things with her. So there's a performance and just sort of an inspirational side to it too that we're really
Sure.
getting interested. It's not just like battle stuff. There's a lot of
Gotcha.
that as well, though.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
the technical stuff, but you need the inspiration as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned, your kind of ideal customer, the people tend to be using it as more of an adult, somebody that's picking this up later
Yeah.
in life. So, tell me a little bit more about that kind of customer and how do they get into jazz in the first place if they're picking it up later?
Yeah, a lot of times they've kind of always had the jazz bug, or they've
Okay.
heard it, and actually one of our biggest kind of breakthroughs last year was we were featured in the New York Times in September.
Okay.
And I really learned what the New York Times audience is like because we were just like inundated, which was wonderful. What our features was kind of specifically about my piano courses, oddly enough. And so we got a lot of interesting people that wanted to, we have a course called Jazz Piano for Beginners. It's actually been our best-selling course ever that we have.
Okay.
And it was the one course I never wanted to make, but now
Really?
I'm glad that I did because it kind of helped us company to do a lot of the other things that I wanted to do. But I was always more interested in the advanced courses, which is what we started with.
Sure.
At that beginner level, there's a huge interest in people that took piano lessons growing up, or maybe even learned as an adult. They don't know anything about jazz, but they can kind of play the piano,
Sure.
but they get bored with sort of the typical repertoire. maybe are jazz fans, go to jazz shows, and they're like, could I play a little bit of this? And we're like, yeah, you can. And we really take them from, what do we say, aspiring to functioning jazz pianists.
Okay.
Like, we don't say we're going to take you from beginner to Herbie Hancock.
Well, you're not going to be a total pro.
Yeah.
Right?
We're not going to. It's not a scam what we do.
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
got to go perform and get closer to that, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, this, it takes time to learn this, but we do get you in these 24 lessons, the jazz piano for beginners. You can get, if you practice 30 minutes a day on this, after a couple of months, you'll be playing a little bit of jazz and having some fun. And,
Wow,
and we've
that's
got really
amazing.
good, and actually, the guy who wrote the article in the New York Times was one of my students, online students.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote it from the perspective of an amateur jazz pianist.
Cool.
That really resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, first-hand experience. That's always a great perspective to take.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you first, I think you mentioned before the show that it was basically you making a couple videos. You mentioned the early days of YouTube. Tell me how this kind of came to be.
Yeah, we got a little bit lucky. So my co-founder, Dan Martin, he was working at WashU in the medical school for many years, and we've been friends since we were kids, grew up in New City. And I was making some short videos. I was teaching at Northwestern University.
Okay.
I was living here, but I would for a month, and they'd ask me just to teach all their jazz piano majors. So I'd go up for one day, twice a month. I'd fly up at 6 in the morning, fly back that night.
Wow.
And I'd get home, and I have all these emails from the students like, I forgot what you said about that fingering. Questions,
Sure, yeah.
Because I was dumb, and I told them, if you ever have any questions, email
me. Of course,
me.
You get a ton, right?
Yeah. I started making these little videos with my flip cam just because it was easier than answering them, just like demonstrating things.
Perfect.
Videos, and Dan kind of had an idea. It was like, man, we should put these on YouTube. And I didn't even know what YouTube, I mean, this was before.
Early days, yeah.
Early platform. So he put some up just as an experiment, and we started getting, and we called it because they were always 2 minutes long, just by accident.
Okay, simple
and,
enough,
so it kind of worked into people's short attention span,
Perfect for YouTube, right? And the short stuff,
exactly. But basically, there wasn't a lot of jazz, and there might not have been instructional content hardly online then.
Really? Okay.
So everybody who was searching for that kind of was ending up with me. So I sort of built up a there, and people are writing in, when's the next video? And I was like, I never promised it, but I just sort of did it because it was easy, fun, production quality. But what it enabled me to do, I was still touring, I still am touring now. I would meet my, people, I'm a fan of 2 Minute Jazz,
really?
Like France or whatever.
Wow.
And I'd always talk to them and say, oh, what did you like? What? Just because that's just the way I am.
Sure.
I didn't realize like what I was doing. It was like market research I'd later build.
Okay.
But I would just ask them like, what are the next topics you're interested in? Because I didn't know.
Well, it's perfect. Yeah. They skip that part. They don't ask enough questions, right?
Exactly. And I didn't really have anything to sell. This was all free content. But I started to learn kind of what other pianists were what problems they had.
Okay.
I didn't know that's what it was. But then once I started to get a little more organized, and I said, well, if people like the 2 Minute Jazz, we had this idea, try some longer lessons. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of came up with an idea about it could be like a membership thing where you get a new lesson every week. Okay. I'm like, it'd be so easy. I can do a lesson in 20 minutes. So we just sort of built, Dan built a real basic website. I remember we got like some bids on building out a membership site, and the cheapest one was $10,000, and we're not doing that,
Start simpler.
Yeah. Although looking back on it, that would have been a great deal. But so Dan built real simple WordPress site. Well, actually, we built it together. Okay. And I made like 5. We turned it on, and then from the YouTube following, plus we were on the early Apple video podcast, and we got featured on the page.
Gotcha.
And that sent a lot of traffic our way.
That helps.
And we just sent out an email to a little list that we had and said, starting, and we had like 21 people sign up the first weekend.
Wow.
And I was like, I thought one person, like my mom, she might sign up. So
21. Wow.
21, and there's a couple of. It's like 7 years later.
Really?
Every month they, because I still do one lesson a week. I've always kept that going.
So on piano, consistently, very cool.
People love the consistency in that. And I've done so many now. It's a lot of ways it's way easier. Even though we've upped we've got multiple camera angles. We got the overhead. We got really good piano, lava, the whole thing.
Yeah, nice.
But the quality of the lessons I think has always been pretty good.
Very cool. Okay. Well. What's the cost? Are there different ways of purchasing? How does that all work?
Yeah, so we have a couple different models, but the main is sort of a lifetime access to a course. So like the Diane Reeves course, the Christian McBride course, Fundamentals, Diane Reeves. Each of these set courses are $197 a course, and you get lifetime streaming access. We don't do any downloading. We've played downloading, but the streaming works really good. We actually have built a platform, which is sort of the other side of things, that has musician in line with the video. So there's a lot of advantages to not downloading it, to actually watching it on our platform. see for many of the transcribed sections the music notes as the artist is talking about.
Really? Okay, that's awesome.
And you can like highlight stuff in the music, and the video jumps to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
so it's our own proprietary built out with a kind of backbone of a company called Sound Slice out of Chicago that does the music.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, it's $197 per course. Then we also have an all access that we started about a year ago, which is $40 a month. You get access to everything on the site, but it's not time access, it's per month.
Per month,
membership
gotcha.
model.
Just keep paying. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes
and
a lot
some
of
people
sense.
really like that. Some saying, okay, I own this course, and I'm not interested in that.
If you're playing one instrument versus another or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. So we've messed around with pricing a lot over the years and different plans, and it's fun for us because the first thing we came up with was I think it was $39 a month, $40 a month, which we just made it up because there was no one really doing what we're like. So we just estimated, and we've kind of stuck around that price on the monthly thing. And then it was $39, and it's funny because then we started seeing over the years people copying and using $30. Really? I always thought like they think that we did all this research, and we just I was like 39
random
sounds
number.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. I mean, because I think I was actually reading an article just like two days ago about how the literacy in the United States has just been getting worse and worse, and the number of pianos sold in the country has gone over the past 100 years.
Right.
So it's cool that you're especially they're seeing a lot of adults picking this up. So you think that's a kind of see more and more of? Is that happening more? You think?
I think so because this and we're not doing this well. There's several other companies doing great things, and there's stuff in classical and like bluegrass. There's a big interest, niche musics that people are interested in. But for a lot of people that don't have access to a teacher locally,
sure,
or don't have the money. I mean, like $40 a month.
It's nothing compared to
a good teacher's $5 a week or whatever.
Easily.
And a lot of people just don't have time or access. They want to do it, like I said, like a Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever. So this gives them a way for kind of continuing music education and inspiration and being part of a community. Like we've built a whole community where people interact with each other. They can post and stuff.
Get feedback from each other.
Other, exactly. So I think ultimately still, if you and have a great teacher that you can go to, that's the best. I mean, It's like these online training programs like for running or for weightlifting. They can guide you along. I mean, of course, if you can get a personal trainer, that's great.
Yeah.
But most people, they just either don't access to that or have the money. So this is really a way for people to connect with music, specifically jazz. But like, we don't have to sell them on jazz. Like they're already
they're already interested.
Yeah, they already sold. I mean, bourbon. Like if you go to get a bottle of bourbon, they might tell you this particular brand and all these.
Sure.
And I'm sure we're going to hear about that shortly. But I mean, in terms of like, so we're not selling so much on jazz. We're selling them on like, we can help you get better. We can help you connect with the music in a way that you never realized from the comfort of your own home.
Very cool. All right. Well, wants to sign up, just go to the website, or what's the best way to get?
OpenStudioNetwork.com.
Okay.
And we have a lot of free content on YouTube and promotional stuff, but we have a blog, and there's a lot of ways to connect. Even if you don't want to sign up, you just want to kind of look at. We've been big proponents from the beginning of content marketing because we actually started the 2-Minute Jazz. I didn't know what content marketing was.
Kind of stumbled on it on the early days of YouTube.
Exactly. Kind of show what you can do, and we've always been big believers in that.
Very cool. All right. Well, and then kind of my last question for you then is obviously along the same lines of seeing what you can do. I know you still do a lot of performing, obviously.
Yes.
So tell us how somebody can come watch you play sometime.
Well, yeah. So I'm touring just as much as I get called for gigs sometimes with people that I want to play with. But this week is a very special week because I'm playing with a group called the Bistro All-Stars at Jazz at the Bistro in Grand Center on Washington and Grand. Actually tonight, we started Wednesday, but it's tonight through Sunday, 2 shows a night, 7:30 and 9:30. You can go to jazzstlouis.org, I think, for info and tickets. But it's an amazing group, and 2 of my artists, of Open Studio artists, Sean Jones, Warren Wolf, are part of the group. Okay. And we also have Tia Fuller on saxophone, who's like Beyonce's saxophonist. And she's up for a big Grammy this year too. And Montez Coleman on drums, Jamal Nichols on bass. It's a real all-star group. That's great. And it's fun for me to play every night. Go home to my own bed because that's kind of rare.
Yeah, because you're used to being in somewhere else, I'm sure. Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun.
Very cool. All right, well, we'll make sure to check that out. So we got a couple minutes left, so we're going to shift to our final segment. The founder of Bourbon Friday, Eric, on the show. And Eric's going to tell us about what we're drinking. So what do we got today?
So it would have been pretty easy to link up jazz with bourbon through New Orleans and bourbon.
Sure.
Unfortunately, there's yet to be a bourbon released in Louisiana. There's a couple coming, but there aren't right now.
Okay.
So I had to go a little bit different route. So this is Heaven's Door Tennessee bourbon.
Okay.
And it was created by another Grammy winner, Bob Dylan, in partnership with the co-founder of Angel's Envy, Mark Pashala. And I really thought it fit quite well because it fits some of the creativity and improvisation that we in jazz, because what they do is they actually, rather than just having like one master distiller, they work with a variety of master distillers and blenders to come up with like signature flavors and character profiles for each one of their spirits. So here we have two different musicians going themselves beyond their artistry into something new.
Wow, I love it. It always ties it in so well, right?
I love being just like Peter
right
Martin,
exactly.
I know,
the two pillars of the world of music.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time, right?
No, every day.
Very cool. Well, we got a minute or two left. You got any events to update
Sure,
us
so there's
on?
a bunch of stuff going on next week.
Okay.
On Tuesday, February 5th, there is an event called If Ideas Could Talk, put on by BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technology. It's over at William J. Harrison Education Center.
Okay.
And I think really for anybody that it has a business idea or has been thinking about something for a little bit of time, it's definitely about that early sort of idea stage and how to get beyond there. They're going to have a little bit of workshops. They're going to go over some resources there as well. So
perfect.
It sounds great for anybody that's starting out.
All right.
It's like if you're still writing on the back of a napkin at the bar when you've had a couple drinks.
Sure,
business idea, right?
Laying in bed, telling Siri, all right, remind me to do this.
Right. $1 million tomorrow.
Yeah, the easy part, right?
The easy part. First step, get $1 million.
I'm so rich here,
And today we have another creative process. This is an event that happens about every quarter over at St. Louis Fashion Fund. It's a great event. There's food, there's drinks, there's usually a couple pitches and some interviews with entrepreneurs, with local entrepreneurs.
Okay.
On Thursday, we have, over at Venture Cafe, we have Rebecca Bryan, the CEO and co-founder of Kovo, a newer co-working space sort of in the air. I think they've been for about a year. Their first location was in the Bay Area. And she is has a position called Marketing Growth on a Budget. And, you know, if you're one of these people that went to that on Tuesday, you might be thinking, well, I can't afford how am I going to market and grow this business?
Right.
I think I had 7 businesses that she started, so she has a lot of experience in this area.
She's going to say, get on YouTube before it got big. You know, post
Right.
videos on YouTube on the first couple of years.
But I'm just thinking, isn't every company, isn't even like Apple marketing still on a budget, right? But it's a big budget.
It's a big budget.
But this
I'd like to have their budget. That'd be nice.
I'm hoping it might be less than, the Apple budget, because I can do pretty much whatever I wanted with that budget.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
But some especially with startups, I see they think, I can't do any marketing until I can afford X amount. And
Sure.
That's as we all know, like you're making all the time,
right?
Even when your budget is zero.
Right.
True.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's sort of like the entrepreneurial spirit of everything is. Well, it'd be great if I had $10,000, but what if I have $0? What can I do that?
Yeah. Cool. All right.
So, and then Friday, another great Friday. We start T-Rex at 1 p.m. There is the State of Geospatial Tech in St. Louis.
Okay.
We'll have the CTO of the Open Geospatial Consortium, the CTO of the City of St. Louis, and we'll have our own Patty. So it's going to be a growing industry here in St. Louis. So maybe come and check that out if you really want to go figure out what is going on here. And then if you just want to hang out afterwards, that ends at about 2:45. You want to hang out afterwards, Bourbon Friday starts at 4.
There you go.
And we have Megan Weingrad, the founder and CEO of Generopolis. And what Generopolis is a marketplace that allows you to sell services and goods and then give the proceeds of that to charity.
Okay. Very cool. That was a lot, man. Thanks for providing all that for us this week.
Yeah.
And I guess we got a plug from last week. Still 6:30 is doing their one tasting at 6:30 tonight as well. So might be over there in a bit. So all right. Well, I think we're about out of time. Eric, as always, thank you for this. Peter, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Nick.
It's a great time talking to
Eric.
you.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, this is the Bourbon Friday Show. Thank you for tuning in every single week. We are here at T-Rex. We want to thank T-Rex for hosting us. Thank you to EQ for allowing us through the Facebook page every single week and promoting the show. And I'd also like to thank my business partner, Vanessa Logo at Connect Market, producing it every single week. We will be here again next Friday at 4:30. Please join us that time.
Hey, thanks for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share this episode, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. To stay up to date, follow us on social. We are at Bourbon Fridays on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. See you next time.